Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. So in today's video, we will be building a real-time cryptocurrency price dashboard using Python and Dash. So whether you are a beginner or experienced developer, you will learn how to build an interactive dashboard that fetches live data from the CoinGecko API and visualizes it dynamically. So before we begin, first let's set up our project. So you will need to have Python installed on your machine. Additionally, we will be using several libraries. Let's open your terminal and write this command with me. We are using this pip package to install the required libraries that we are going to use. So first of all is dash and then request and space plotly and space pandas. So after writing this, press enter. So I have already installed these libraries, so it is saying that requirements are already satisfied. So if you don't have these libraries installed, then it will download the required libraries that we will be using into your machine. Alright, so let's start by importing necessary libraries. So open your favorite code editor and create a new file. You can name it crypto dashboard.py or anything you want. Then we are going to import. Let's close this terminal for now. And then we are going to import first dash. So basically the dash framework which is used to build the web application, and from dash we are going to import DCC and HTML. Alright, so guys, here we are importing the dash core components DCC and HTML component from the dash library. So DCC dash core components, which is a higher level components like graph and drop downs, and while HTML contains HTML elements like containers, divs and headings, which we all know. And then we are going to import from dash dot dependencies. We are going to import input. So guys, basically imports input and output from dash, which we will be using for creating callbacks that makes the app interactive. And after this, we are going to import plotly library, which we have installed. And in plotly library, we are using graph objects as go. Plotly is a library for creating interactive graphs, and we are just importing graphs objects from plotly. And after that, we are going to import pandas as PD. Alright, so as we all know, the pandas library which is used for data manipulation and analysis. And at last, we are importing request. This request library will be used to send HTTP request to API. So guys, next we will initialize our Dash application. So as we discussed, Dash is a Python framework for building analytical web applications. So it is perfect for creating dashboards. So let's create a variable called apps, and in this variable I'm going to assign this Dash library and this dash method, and in this dash method I'm going to call it name. I just initialize the Dash application. The name argument here sets up the application within the current Python module. Alright, now we will create a global data store to keep track of our cryptocurrency prices over time. This will help us update our graph dynamically. So here how we do it. So I am going to create a dictionary called data store. Alright, so in this I am going to create a key called time and initialize it with the list which is empty, and after time we have another which is BTC, and I'm going to again initialize with a list, and after that we have ETH, and after that we have LTC. Alright, so we have just created a dictionary to store the time series data for Bitcoin, Ethereum and Litecoin. It keeps track of the timestamp, which is the variable time, and corresponding prices for each cryptocurrency. Now let's define the layout of our dashboard. Our layout will include a title, a drop-down menu for selecting the cryptocurrencies, a graph to display the price, and an interval component to refresh the data every minute. So let's begin. So I forgot to mark the is equal to here, so don't forget. So guys, instead of just creating apps, I'm going to name it app. It will be more like, because we are just creating a single app, not apps. So app dot layout, alright, so is equals to HTML dot div. Alright, so in this container I am going to define the children in the form of a list. So in this I am using this HTML tag as heading h1. Before it I need to define the children, and now I can define real time cryptocurrency price dashboard. And after that I'm using this DCC dot drop down method. So I am mentioning my drop down. So here I can just say that ID is equals to crypto dash drop down. I need to put it into the inverted commas, otherwise it will take it as a variable. Let's close it here. This DC drop down is complete, and yes, after this DC drop down I am going to define a variable name option. So the option contains the list of options that I can select from the drop down. So I'm going to create a list, and in this list I'm going to create a dictionary, and I'm going to say label can be Bitcoin with the value, let's capitalize it, BTC. This is the first option of the drop down. After cryptocurrency ID drop down, I will be seeing these three options: Bitcoin, Ethereum and Litecoin. So let's, instead of writing it again and again, let's just copy one and paste it here. So instead of Bitcoin here we will be using Ethereum, and it will be ETC, and it will be Litecoin, and it will be LTC. Alright, we don't need to put comma here. Instead of this let's put the comma here. After this I am going to define the default value. So I have just created the value variable, and in this I am going to define BTC. which is the value of the Bitcoin, and in the comments let's call it default value. So the default value, as we all know, when the graph first appear, the value that it will be showing will be without selecting any coin. By default it will be selecting the value of the Bitcoin. Let's put the comma here, and then after that we are going to define the clearable is equals to false, and I'm going to define the style variable. So in this style variable I just need to define its width, which will be 50%. Alright. So guys, we created this drop down menu for selecting the cryptocurrencies. As we discussed, it has 3 options: Bitcoin, Ethereum and Litecoin. The default value is set to Bitcoin and the drop down is non-clearable. Alright, so after this dc dot graph method. So guys, in this graph method I am going to give it an ID, just like we gave an ID to the drop down menu, and I am going to name it price graph. So we have just used our interval method. So as usual I am just going to give this interval component. Alright, so I just gave it an ID, and after that I am going to use this interval variable, and in this interval variable I am going to reload the graph in 1 minute or 60,000 milliseconds. Alright. The number of interval is equals to 0. Let's go through this. That the graph method adds a placeholder for the graph which will display the cryptocurrency price data, and the interval method adds an interval component that triggers an event every 60,000 milliseconds or 1 minute to update the graph. Alright guys, so now we need to fetch real-time cryptocurrency prices from the CoinGecko API. We will define a callback function to get the data and update our graph. So let's do it. So why it is showing, wait a second, yes, instead of 2 underscore we have put 3. So that is why it was showing yellow line here. Let's create a decorator call app.callback. Alright, so everything we are going to do to fetch the data and display it, we are going to do it in this app.callback function. Alright, use this output method. The output will be the price graph that we have defined, the ID, the figure and the figure. And on the input we have interval component. Interval component must be the ID should be the same as we are calling the IDs, and interval. Alright, let's put the input into a list that we are going to, and we have the second input also, which is the crypto drop down. Let's just copy it from here and just paste it here. and then after crypto drop down we have value. Alright, in the crypto drop down we have the values. Yes, crypto drop down and value. This app callback function, this is a decorator that defines a callback function that updates the graph. So the output specifies that the figure attributes of the component with ID, just like price graph, will be updated. The input specifies that the function will be triggered by the changes to the interval component and the drop down menu. Alright, so after that we are going to define our def update graph. This update graph will take two arguments. So the first argument is n and the second argument is selected crypto. Alright, first we are going to create a variable called URL and insert our API, and after that I am going to create a variable called response, and in this response I am going to use this request library that I have imported. I'm going to use this get method to fetch the data from the API. Alright, so after importing the response from the API in the response variable, I am going to create a variable called data, and in this data variable I am going to convert the response that I get into JSON. Alright, after converting the data into JSON format, I am going to print the response, print the API response for debugging purposes. I can add debugging purpose. Alright, wait a second, there is a spelling mistake here, just fix it. And then I'm going to use this print method, and I can use this string formatting, and just like, wait a second, and I don't need to use the string formatting, I can just write API response and then here data. Alright, then it will print our API response on the console. So let's go through what we have done in this update graph variable. Basically, as we discussed, that this update graph defines a callback function. It takes two inputs. Alright, then we have defined this response variable. It sends a GET request to get the API URL. So it sends a GET request to the API URL, and then we have created this data variable which converts our response from the API into JSON format, and then we are going to print the API response for debugging purposes. If there are any errors, if we are sending GET request into the API, so we are going to use this error code. So if I'm using this if variable, in this if variable I'm using error code. Alright, so this error code will be checking in data variable and data, and I have to use error code. If this error code is equals to 429, I will explain this part of the code. Then I am going to print rate limit exceeded. Waiting for a while before retry. Alright, so when we are going to send so many requests, then it will share the response 491 from the API. Then we can print that rate limit is exceeded, then waiting for a while before retrying. And if this error occur, then we need to return dash dot no update. Why? Because we do not need to update the data which is appearing on the graph, because the rate limit is exceeded and there is no way we need to return. We need to update the data. Now we are going to proceed with try and accept. So first I'm going to use this try keyword. This try keyword will attempt to extract and store cryptocurrency prices from the API response. I'm going to create a variable called BTC price and data, which is Bitcoin. This should be in underscore Bitcoin, and it will be in currency USD. And then we have ETH price, which is data, needs to be in Ethereum. It is also will be in USD. All right. And then we have LTC price. All right. So again, we have in LTC price, we have Litecoin, which of course will be in, and then we have USD. And after this, I'm going to create a variable called current time, and in this current time variable, I can just pd.time method timestamp. I can use this timestamp method dot now function. All right. As we can see, a BTC price variable will extract the USD price from the API response, and so on. Same for the ETH price, will extract the Ethereum price in USD, and for Litecoin it will extract the Litecoin price in USD. And current time variable will store the current timestamp when the data will update. Now we are going to append new data. So we have already created a variable data store, so we are going to append new data into this variable. So we have already created this time variable. All right, so I'm going to time dot append method. So first I'm going to import the current time. So if it is successfully fetch the data from the API, then the data store variable values will be changed. And then again data store, and then we have for BTC, and I need to append this BTC price, the new BTC prices in this BTC value. And again data store for ETH Ethereum, append ETH price. And then again for data store we have LTC dot append LTC price. So it will replace the previous values with the new values that it gets from the API response. All right. And after this, I am going to limit data to the last 100 points. So in graphs, we cannot show all the data. So we will keep the data on the screen for the last 100 points. Alright, so let's create a condition. So I'm using this if len method. Alright, so we need to calculate the length. So I can use this len method of data store variable. And in this data store variable, we have different values. So I need to create, wait a second, I need to create this time value, which should not exceed 100. Alright, then I need to, for time, I need to replace it with -100. So when the data store time value will reach greater than 100, then it will remove the previous 100 ones and keep the rest. So the same I need to do it for, let's copy and paste it from here instead of writing it again and again. We have 3 more values, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so I can just remove it to BTC and I can just remove it to ETH and it's for LTC. And same for here, it needs to be BTC, ATH and LTC. So same will happen with the rest of the entries. So guys, now what if we face any errors? So now let's create the exception. So I'm using this except method. So if we are going to face any key error, so we might get this key error. So I'm going to represent it as E. And I'm going to print it on the screen as key error. And this time I'm using a string formatting and writing key error, which is E. Alright. And after printing this key error, of course, we need to prevent the graph from updating. So we are going to use this return dash dot no update. Alright. So we need to prevent it from updating the graph. Yes, we do not need to call the method here. We can remove the parenthesis. Now to as appear it somewhere, we need to store our data. For this, I'm going to create this df variable, and in this df variable, I'm using this PD. We have imported it, and I'm using this data frame to our variable data store. This PD library will convert our data store dictionary into a pandas data frame. And to represent it into figure, I'm going to create a variable and using this Go library. And use this method figure. As we discussed that the default value is the Bitcoin, so we need to update the graph if the Bitcoin is selected. So I'm using this selected crypto if is equals to BTC. Then we need to update the graph with Bitcoin value. I'm using this figure.add trace method, go dot scatter, and then I'm going to define the dimensions, which are time, and we have y is equals to, dfbtc. It needs to be under inverted comma. I'm going to in the mode which is lines plus markers. Let's take a gap here. Lines plus markers. And another entry I'm going to it is for the name, which is Bitcoin. You do not need to put the round brackets here in line plus markers. So guys, let's take an overview what we have discussed. As we after converting our dictionary into pandas data frame, we have created a new figure by using the plotly library, and then if we have added the trace to the figure for the Bitcoin prices if Bitcoin is selected. We have created it for the Bitcoin. So now if any other, when the user will select instead of Bitcoin Ethereum or Litecoin, so we are using this other conditions, elif selected crypto if equals to ETH. All right, so we are going to, if the selected crypto is equals to ETH, then we are going to use this same line and update the values. All right, so instead the time will be the same. Instead of BTC, we will be using this ETH to update the graph and the same format, and we can update the name here Ethereum. All right, so same for Litecoin. So if selected crypto will be LTC, then we can again modify this line for LTC, which is Litecoin. We will be updating the layout of the graph as per the selection of the coin. So to update the figure of the layout, we need to use this method figure dot update layout. Update layout, here it is. So I can write the title. I can use the string formatting for the title, price of selected crypto. Alright, over time. And after that, we have x-axis. So I'm going to create this x-axis variable, x-axis title. So to generate it, I'm using it for time. All right, and then we have y-axis title. For y-axis, I am using the price, which we will be using in currency USD. All right, so after this, we will return the figure. Now let's see what we did here. So basically the figure update, as we discussed, that it will update the figure layout with the title and axis labels. That what will be the label of the x-axis and y-axis we have defined here. That in x-axis the title will be the time, and on the y-axis the title will be the price, and with this parenthesis in USD. So and then after we are returning the updated figure to the function. So let's close the app we have started here by using this name. So I'm going to use this if this 2 underscore and then main way. This needs to be in parentheses, in inverted commas. And after, if this theme is equals to main, and then we are going to run this server. So I'm using this run server and debug is equals to true. Basically, guys, this line ensures that the script is executed directly, not imported as a module, and the app runs in the dash server in debug mode, which provides useful errors, messages, and auto reloads when the code changes. So guys, let's run the code to see it in action. There are some errors it is showing. Let's see what are those. It is saying it is here. It is here, which is saying that f.price. Let's see if I can. Yes, now it is working fine. Now it is gone. Let's save this and run this program to see it in action. It is generating an error DC drop down. So yes, the interval component, the spelling has some issue. Let's copy it from here and paste it here to diagnose it. Yes. So I am supposed to write here component, interval component. All right. Let's again run this program to see if it is working fine. Now DCC for the interval component. Yes, the input should be. Now we have fixed on both app call and the function. Let's run this program to see if it is fixed. Now it is saying with the n intervals. Yes, it is saying that this is allowed n intervals, not n. I think I forgot to write the s here. So basically, these are all the predefined function methods in Dash. So be careful when you are using it. Any spelling mistake will prevent the code from executing. So let's again run this program. It has been executed. Yes, that is why it is not executing, because instead of writing main, I'm spelling mistake it with main. Now let's clear this all up. And again run this program to see if it is working. Yes, finally. So you can see that here we have this in localhost. It is running on this port 8505. On your system, maybe it is different. So let's open a browser and see it in action. Cancel Biden. What is it? Let's run this program. So basically it is saying that it has faced 3 errors. Now let's check what are the errors. This key error is Litecoin. Yes, I have a spelling mistake with this Litecoin. Coin. Alright. It is fixed now. Let's close it. Alright, save the code and again run this program. So it is still saying that it is facing this error. So let's find out where we have put it wrong. It is here, and now it has no result. Now again, close this by using Ctrl+C and save the code and again run this program. Now let's wait if it is not showing any error, and now update it. It is again saying options and something else. Let's check if there is. It is not showing it, so let's close it and again just click it, then it will be open into our tab. It is open here. It is saying 3 errors: invalid argument, options passed with drop down with. Yes guys, actually we are doing it wrong. It should be right interval components without any capitalization. It should be like this. Alright, that is why it is showing this error again and again and again. Let's close it and again run it to see if it has made any progress with the pictures. No, it has not. It is still showing with the objects with crypto drop down. Another mistake is that we need to define the label as label. There is a spelling mistake in label which is causing these 3 errors. Let's save it and again run this program to see if it is working fine now. So basically, if we are going to create this big code like this, there are options that we can make mistakes. So that is why we have made this debug option true, so we can identify the errors. You can see here the options are, it is saying the options has some issue. So I think yes, instead of writing capital V, I think I need to write small v here to get the values correctly. And I also need to make sure that I haven't used them somewhere else. Yes, here I need to write a small value for the crypto drop down. Okay, I think it's all done now. Let's run this app again, close this, and then let's run this app again to see if it is working fine now. There is only one error left, which is saying that interval. I think an intervals, it should be an intervals. I fixed it before, but I think something is missed from my eyes. And intervals, alright, I wrote here intervals. Now, yes, it is also intervals here. Alright, I think it is now fixed finally. So let's again run this program to see if it is working. Yes, now there are no errors. So let's wait for, basically it will be updated in every 60 minutes. If I shorten the time, then the rate limit will exceed and this API, CoinGecko API, will refuse to serve data 1 minute response. So that we will be requesting the get, so we will be initiating the get request for every 1 minute and fetch the data. So if any error will appear, then it will be appear in the console also. You can see that we have just getting the same value here. Alright, so if we are going into the graph, then we can see that it is just the same value. It is not different from the previous. So in every 60 seconds, maybe the value might not differ, but if we are waiting for 2 to 3 minutes, the values from this coin will be starting to be different. As long as this app is executing, this server is running, so it will be updating. So we have 3 values here which are consistent. So I just want to show you the different values, as if the value changes from this API, then it will also differ from the graph for all 3 coins. But make sure that if you select anything different from these 3 coins, then it will be generating a GET request to the API. So make sure you do not frequently changing the drop down values options here. So it will generating the get request, and eventually the rate limit will exceed and it will generate an error. So if I'm going to see for the Ethereum and the Litecoin, it is here for the Ethereum. Why it is not appearing for the Ethereum? I must have missed it. You can see that so many get requests have been generated here and the API response is here. So let's see. Remember I used yes, instead of ATC I'm using ATH. Again I have to close this for Ethereum and again run this. And let the server execute, and I have to update it. It has already been updated. And I think this time it will be showing values for Ethereum as well. Yes, you can see that. So guys, let's run this. Let's go for the Ethereum to see if it is generating. Yes, I think you can see that we get the different value this time. Yes, as we have waited for the another 60 minutes, we can see that the values are different. So we can see that the graph went up suddenly for Ethereum, and for Bitcoin, the graph went down, and for Litecoin, the graph went down. So guys, there you have it. We have just built a real-time cryptocurrency price dashboard using Python and Dash. This dashboard fetches live data from the CoinGecko API and visualizes it in interactive graph. If you found this tutorial helpful, do not forget to like, share and subscribe for more coding tutorials. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos. Thanks for watching and happy coding.